Hello everybody and welcome to Watkins Glen International. It's time for the Ford Mustang Challenge, brought to you by Ford, built Ford proud. And it's a beautiful afternoon as we get things underway in superb surroundings. Shea Adam is alongside me as we come our international audience, 3.4 miles around, 11 corners, and you always know there's history in a circuit when there's names for the corners, the bus stop or the inner loop, the carousel, the heel and the toe of the boot, the S's. Yeah, well, lots of action areas here, particularly down to that first right-hand corner, downhill braking area. Always going to be tricky. New curbs on the entrance to that inner loop, which might just upset things a little bit. And then cresting the rise to turn 8, the heel of the boot. As the Dark Horse streetcar rolls off, we have 25 cars lined up. And at the back, Shea Adam in 24th and 25th position, a couple of drivers in the shapes of Alex Pachura and Max Zapalski, who we would have expected to have been further up the grids.
They qualified much better than they are starting, but their cars did not pass technical inspection. Too much camber on both cars from two different teams. So this was not one team falling foul of this infraction. And the good news is they will still be starting the race. It's not as if they have been benched, and we do have a full grid of cars, 25 of them, out on the circuit.
Well, that is 24th and 25th on the grid. On the inside of the 12th row, Kel Cairns for Leaders Credit Union competition in the number 66 car. Ahead one row in row 11, John Stroud for Capaldi Racing and Jack Lewis for Jack Lewis Enterprises. That's the 14 and the 73. On the 10th row of the grid, Dr. Rod Randall for Core Motorsports in the number 5 car, and Mitch Marvosh for Robert Noacker Racing. Will be featuring that team throughout the race here this afternoon. On row number 9, Carl Bennett has the Amersian Fragrance Competition car alongside Mike Stillwagon for Skip Barber Racing. That's the 1 and the 10. On row number 8, Nick Smither for Nick Smither Racing and Core Motorsports, Christian Back, 58 and 52. The number 10 is Stephen Vager for NV Motorsport. MDK's Tom Tate is there in the number 8 car. For Marcus Vento in the 18 car is on the outside of row number 6. He's got DJ Randall in the 94 for company. Wesley Slimp in the 47 is on the outside of row number 5. 48 is Zach Lee. He is pole position for the Legends class for the slightly older drivers out there. That's a really strong performance, putting him inside the top 10. Alongside him, Gabe Tesh for MDK Motorsports. And Brendan Godovich is on the 4th row as well with the 46 Precision Performance car. Row 3, Sam Paley in the 26, Nate Cicero in the 82, Southern Paley and Macumbi McAleer. Jeremy Fletcher is in 4th position for the Dark Horse class in the number 22 for Macumbi McAleer Racing. Reed Sweeney for Robert Noacker Racing in the 31 is on the inside of the 2nd row. And on the front row, it's a lockout again for Robert Noacker Racing. Tyler Maxson has the 74 on the outside of the front row, and Robert Noacker, the man with his name above the door, and his own door, in fairness, is in the number 13 car. Top 3 then, RNR cars. Will be looking out for them in our Ford Performance team updates through the race today. 45 minutes on the clock. There's a few people out of position. Expect Sam Paley to go forward from there, and Zach Lee is a quick starter as well. But further down, Alex Pachura, well, we've seen him drive from the back to the front in other IMSA single manufacturer categories in the past. Stand by for 3/4 of an hour where anything can happen. You ready for this, yeah?
I'm so ready for this. Part of the thing that's got me most excited, Robert Noacker cars, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. In the order, Calvin, Hobbs, and Susie. Those are the car names of the numbers 13, 74, and 31, respectively. So let's see if everybody can play nice.
side by side, 12 and a half rows deep. The Coyote engines are about to burst into life. It's a nice even start. Paul Sitter backing them up a little bit, and now goes for the throttle. And from the inside of the front row, and there's a stack up behind, and we've got cars in the fence from the midfield. Involved there undoubtedly was Mike Stillwagon. I think Nick Smithers might have been involved in that, or at least delayed by it as well. That is the number 29 car.
Mitch Marvosh.
Robert Noaker Racing. And this could bring out the safety car straight away. Well, it did come very, very slowly to the line at the front of the field. Tyler the Tiger Maxson has jumped Robert Noaker, who seemed to have the start to begin with, but that will be for nothing as the 52 Christian Bach involved as well in the race for RP Core machine. Now it was people moving around in that mid to back of the pack.
The number 1, I think that was Carl Bennett, was very much a car that moved out of line and sideswiped Mitch Marvosh. That ultimately put he and Christian Bach into the inside wall. That was just a bit of billiards.
Very, very bizarre start to a 45-minute race. The front row, the Noaker Racing twins, well, the top 3 were all in there.
Calvin and Hobbs, you mean?
Yeah, Calvin and Hobbs, absolutely. Hobbs obviously belongs to Tyler the Tiger Maxson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of which there is now a cartoon and T-shirts. So thank you very much, Robert Noaker Racing, Katie and Jim, for doing that. Or Bob, we really appreciate you.
So already the cleanup has begun on the front stretch.
Race control will be looking at that start, and
Sure.
I'm wondering if they're going to look at the pace of the front 2 rows and if there was any sort of variance.
You're fine to hold the pace. You do not have to go any quicker than you want to, but you're not allowed to go up and down or brake. You've got to hold a steady speed. It was a very steady speed as they came to the line, and from our vantage point above this, right? Okay, so the core car had the front suspension and steering broken from the first hit, so that was very bad luck for the core motorsports machine as that car went into the wall, and at that point the driver has no control.
Kel Kearns was lucky to get through there, John. His windshield was full of debris, and the purple car did make it through. So really good driving and fortunate for the 66.
So in there, Nick Smith picked his way through in the 58 car as well.
Up into third is Jeremy Fletcher in the number 22, getting the better of Reed Sweeney before the caution came out.
Christian Bach was the car that had the suspension broken immediately. So Mike Stillwater, I think, got through that.
I think you're right.
I thought that was Mike's car, the number 19, the Skip Barber car, the red, white and black machine that had got involved in that. But maybe I just saw him out of shape as it was all developing.
Bashura has pitted. Now he started at the back of the back and should have been able to avoid all the carnage in front of him. Looks like Sparky is actually running around to the front of the car, making sure that everything is secured up. Yes, of Spark Performance. It's pretty good when the guy whose name is over the door is the one who's actually checking your car.
Contact on the front of that car, and what they are doing is using bright orange racer tape to hold down the left front side of the bonnet. It absolutely perfectly matches the orange of the orange of the livery. Now the good news is that drivers are now being extricated from their cars. They would have been asked to stay in their cars until the line of the race had gone through, and we could protect them getting out. You don't want them opening the driver's door into the safety cars. It's driving the remaining 22 cars past. So let's just confirm then Well, Mike Stillwagon did drop to the back of the car, so he did have to perform some kind of miracle to avoid that. Christian Bach and Mitch Marvosh are the two cars that are up against the wall down below us.
While we mentioned Mike Stillwagon, he's the one who got his car race week during Mid-Ohio.
And it was pure white.
It was at the track that they got that car, procured it. I'm not going to say it was delivered because that was not the car that was intended for Stillwagon, but he made the most out of it, had a really good debut weekend at Mid-Ohio, came into this weekend and until this morning was leading the points by himself. With Zach Lee's pole position, they are now tied on 600 points as the 29 of Mitch Marvosh is being dragged off the wall and the 52 of Christian Bach is being loaded up onto the flatbed. This will be at least one more lap behind the safety car, but hopefully just the one more lap. Season-long championships, and they are well worth fighting for. Robert Noacre with an advantage 690 points, ahead of Tyler the Tiger Maxon on 620. But what happens when you win the Dark Horse class? Well, you get $100,000 towards a GT3 or a GT4 seat. You get a GT4 test and a one-event tire credit from Michelin. Or if you don't want that, you can take $40,000 real cash money and a GT4
Oh, the
test.
Discord group have just gone bonkers. I met some of the Discord group in the car park of the Mary Marvin Stadium at Le Mans on, was that Friday morning of race week? I think it was.
A week ago.
And they just a week ago. It seems like a lifetime ago in the amount of broadcasting that we've done. And the 24-hour race is not even the biggest part of the broadcasting that we do at Le Mans, let's be honest. They will have gone mad for that. You sounded like one of those game shows there. Oh, and call now.
Well, if you win Dark Horse Legends, you've got your choice of a GT4 test or $20,000 real cash money.
Ooh, that's tough.
I would love a shot at Prices Right. That would be fun.
You'd be good. I like the idea.
No, not hosting it, just playing it.
Right.
Winning it.
Well, but you're always good when we do it on Midweek Motorsport, let's be honest.
The answer is always Scott Dixon.
Well, yes.
Carl Bennett did make it through in the number 1, the purple Ford Mustang, so glad to see that car still continuing round.
Perfect weather conditions, although a little bit humid if you are standing around doing anything. It's just a wee bit overcast here with not much wind to clear that cloud. 89 Fahrenheit officially. That's getting on for 30 Celsius as the weathermen are telling us. Very hot part of the US at the moment. Counting down with the clock at the moment down to almost 37 minutes wherever you are in the world. Thanks for joining us via Ford Performance and their pages around the world. No subscription required for Ford Mustang Challenge here on the IMSA package, and no interruptions either via the player at IMSA Radio, IMSA.tv, or of course on the Ford Performance Facebook and other pages. Plenty of places to watch and listen to these marvellous cars.
The AMR safety crew are the best in the business. They have completed all of the repair to the front straight, much like Alex Bashura's repair to the front right of his number 33 Ford Mustang from Spark Performance. And it looks like we should be good to go back to green this time around.
The remains of the Robert Noacre, Mitch Marvosh, number 29, now off the track. The Core Racing, number 52, Core Motorsports, excuse me, Christian Bach car. The lights will go out coming out of turn 9.
That late, wow.
Yeah, I think so. Sorry, no, turn... They should come out over the top of the rise before turn 8 is, I think, where they go out, having read the... There's a marshal's post there.
A lot of uppy-downy on this track, and you don't realize it until you're walking
Until you've walked it. Oof.
Yes, and then you can't not realize it on every camera angle because you just see the subtleties of it. And that back straight, the run between the toe and the heel of the boot, it does go so far up, and then it drops you back down into turn 9, into turn 8. It's no wonder that people break track limits there.
Tyler Maxon then will lead the two Robert Noacre Racing Dark Horse Mustangs to the line. The lights are still on the safety car, so maybe we're not quite ready through to turn 10 now. I think we're having one more lap here, Shane.
Let's see what happens as they come through again. Safety car has not yet peeled into the pit lane, but the front straight is clear.
Staying out. Definitely staying out. I wonder if they are waiting for the AMR safety vehicles to get back on station.
Or are they potentially looking at reordering? Did people pass before the yellow flags, or when the yellow flags had been called, before they knew it? It did come out fairly early on our timing screens.
So, one more lap to get underway. Time ticks down to just under 35 minutes. As it stands, Tyler Maxson leads the Dark Horse class. Dark Horse legend Zach Lee in the number 48. And he's got a couple, now make that 4 cars now between himself and the NV Autosport. That's the Gradient Racing Run number 10 car. Stephen Vager behind the wheel there. Nick Smither, who somehow got through the Contretemps on the first lap in the 58, in third in the Legends. Then Tom Tate in 4th position. Lights are out on the safety car. That's super early round the lap. So everybody weaving left and right to get some heat into the tyres.
Jeremy Fletcher is up into that 3rd position. Really glad to see that he was able to capitalize on that strong start, as was Tyler the Tiger. Maybe that outside row just worked a little bit better as going into turn 1. You and I speculated about that earlier.
Michelin tyres, of course, for the Mustang Challenge. And again, as in most of IMSA competition, tyres not a resource that is unlimited. You get an allocation for the weekend and you have to work that through the weekend for your practice, qualifying, and of course the 2 races.
3 sets of tires per round, and the price of the tires varies depending on how many cars show up per event. So there is a stipulation where if there are more than 27 cars, the tire price drops down. So bring your friends. Come on to Mustang Challenge.
Run more cars. Hello, Mr. Team Owner. Run more cars and save money.
Exactly.
Sorry, how does that happen?
Well, a season entry is only $22,000, and the cars themselves cost $145,000. And if you need spare parts, go down to your local Ford dealer.
That is genius. I was talking with Mark Rushbrook about this at Le Mans last week when he was announcing the Mustang Dark Horse Challenge event at Le Mans in 2025. He's expecting up to 70 cars for that. There is a dossier, a relatively thick dossier, that all of the teams get, that give you all of the part numbers that you can get at your local dealer. Just under 32 minutes to go, and we are ready to go back to green. And green flag with just under 32 minutes to go. Heading down to the first corner for Tyler Maxson. Robert Neuecker in 2nd place in the white and blue, with slightly more blue in 3rd place is the Macumbi Macaulay racing driver Jeremy Fletcher. The blue stripes on the bonnet denoting that car, and we've got a clean start from the front runners at least.
I'm sorry to be laughing, but Sam Paley totally baited Brandon Godovic going into turn 1. He pulled over to the wall on driver's right on the putt straight just to let Brandon Godovic go, hey, come on, buddy, you got a better run. You can have a go at me. But he did not have a better run going through turn 1. Godovic going way too deep in the braking point, and it was a bit of an over-under for Sam Paley.
In the Dark Horse Legends, Zach Lee from Stephen Vager, but Vager's got a lot of traffic between himself and the man at the head at the front of the field. The 2 Robert Neuecker cars then scrapping it out, or are they? Is this just a little bit of team tactics at the moment? It's that blue and white car playing a bit of a backstop to the Hobbs coloured machine. Oh, huge off and over for the 82. This is the Macumbi Macaulay racing car. And this is going to be a safety car at the very least. Driver is moving around. That's Nate Cicero in that car. But an unabated spear off the circuit.
Whew.
Through turn 5 at the carousel. And almost over the edge of the circuit, but came back down. That's a huge incident, but the driver compartment has stood up very well. Nate can't get out because the door is stuck on the tyres, but he's clearly able to move around in there.
Trying to climb out the window.
Yeah. The car is up partially on the tyres at the rear end. And Nate with enough room to stand out. Well, that's great to see as Nate exits the car through the window and holds his head. Now, was that his mistake or did he get a helping hand as he's over the top of the 3-layer metal barrier? Shrugs. Now, that was a huge incident. He's not happy, so he may have had some help. Coming down to turn number 7. Oh, he's lost it massively early. And that may have been a stuck throttle of some description. Something went on there. He was gaining speed when he should have been slowing down. Now, this is a 6-speed manual box, a stick shift. And you do have an auto blip, but quite a lot of the drivers like to heel and toe and blip down through. I wonder if he caught the throttle with his right foot on the brake. But that was incredible to see. And how close was he to cleaning up Rod Sweeney in 4th position as he turns in the car, accelerates.
Yep.
And once he's on the grace, he's on the brakes, but the car is not slowing down.
Something weird at the back of that car too, because as he goes by Reed Sweeney with a big head of steam, it's almost as if the rear kicks off to driver's left. Very odd.
Well, that's a thing because it's accelerating rather than braking. So I wonder, it would not be the first time that even an experienced driver had caught the throttle when trying to brake on a 3-pedal car. Safety work is already there. The MR safety team now have to work out how to get that car back. Well, that'll make the highlights reel for the wrong reasons. But the good news is that Nate got out of that car on his own, and the passenger cell, the driver safety area within there, as defined by the roll cage and all the other safety features, absolutely intact. The bits that have broken off, it's bad, of course it is, and it looks bad, but like any street car nowadays, there are crumple zones and areas of the car that are meant to dissipate energy. That was a big hit into the tyres, and the car landing back down on the tyre wall at the 3/4 way round turn number 7. I think Nate will have to go to the infield care centre just for a checkup. Standard operational procedure on that as well.
That is a testament to the men and women at the Flat Rock Assembly Plant as well, from where the Ford Mustangs come. To see a car that fundamentally still looks like a Ford Mustang. It is, the roof is still intact. It had a very scary rotation, a big impact, and it still is a Ford Mustang. It's safe enough that the driver was able to climb out on his own with that space in the roof.
Yeah.
That integrity didn't get compromised at all.
There's no damage to the roof panel whatsoever. The windscreen, the windshield hasn't broken. And, all right, the trunk, the boot lid is up from the spin in the air. See, the windshield is broken on the left front. Probably where the bonnet, the hood has come up. And I suspect that the left-hand side of that car is not going to look as in good condition as the right-hand side. The car is rolling on its wheels.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. And we've got one of our AMR safety team with his hand on the steering wheel. So the steering rack is still connected to the front wheels. Wow, tough.
I know Nate Cicero is a skinny kid, but that's still a big opening for him to have climbed through with his helmet on and everything.
Yeah, helmet and hand still on. Helmet and hand still on. That's a very good point. And I think the only reason the door didn't open was it was up against the tyre barrier.
That's exactly. There was a tyre that you could see through the car, through his window, that was blocking the way.
Yeah.
Again, great work by our AMR safety crew. Continuing round behind the safety car as the work continues at the toe of the boot. Under our second full course yellow of the race with 24.5 minutes to go. This is round number 3 of the championship. 10 rounds total for this season. Watkins Glen this weekend, Mid-Ohio to kick things off. Road America next in the beginning of August. Then we go to Circuit Americas with the WEC and finishing off the season with 2 rounds at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That will be in October.
In today's Ford Performance update, we are concentrating on Robert Neuecker Racing. A bit of a mixed bag at the moment. An early issue for Mitch Marvosh for the 29 car. The cars that are still running are doing very nicely indeed. Behind the safety car at the moment, and still controlling the race as they're locked out the first 3 positions and have managed to hold on to that. So here is our Ford Performance Team update. Number 74 is Tyler Maxson leading. In second is Robert Neuecker himself, and Reed Sweeney just missing getting cleaned up by Nate Cicero there, and sits in 4th position. Their teammate Mitch Marvosh, the unfortunate recipient of a bit of a bang in the wall at the start, and so hasn't got a finish at the moment. That's today's Ford Performance Team update. Halfway through this race, Shea, and yet to really get into the rhythm of this with a couple of quite large incidents. Everybody keen to get to the front of the field.
It was at the start of the race where everybody sort of was a little bit too much pent up energy. And it's a bit odd considering that we raced 2 weeks ago, whereas we have several other series and several other categories who have been months without a race. You'd have thought these guys would have gotten it out of their system by now.
So we are under the safety car for the 2nd time in the races. We just trip over half distance. The damaged Nate Cicero, McCumbee McAleer Racing number 82, be taken back to the pits, and it's all because of a very, very scary incident indeed for Nate. His body language when he got out of the car said to me he had no clue what happened as his car seemed to accelerate rather than braking, and from that point on, as soon as he hit the grass, Nate was a passenger doing what he could to slow it down. But the safety systems on the Dark Horse R race car doing their job, and Nate Cicero able to get himself out, albeit through the window, and that was only because of the tyre barrier right alongside him. The left-hand side of the car taking, that's the driver's side of the car, taking the brunt of the damage. And it was great to see Nate moving around right from the very first moment that car settled down. The right-hand side, well, that looks pretty good. The left-hand side, I think we'll need a wee bit of work doing on it if we're to see that car tomorrow. The team will be going over that, and the IMSA officials will want to put that back through scrutineering as well, just to make sure that there's no damage to the safety cell. Now, that said, and our clean-up teams have done a great job, now it's the turn of track services. And they are looking at the 2 layers of tyres that are herringbone fashion here at Watkins Glen, and the piece of banding that goes in between them. What they'll also be looking at as well behind that is the 3-layer of metal crash barriers and their fixings into the ground and the posts. That was quite a heavy hit at speed, and a place where that is unusual. That is very unusual to see that kind of impact there. You'll often see people going straight on there, but not at that speed. So they'll be taking a very good look at it, and our track services from Watkins Glen, as well as the IMSA AMR safety team, making sure that everything is safe before we go racing. It's an unusual accident. I've never seen anything like that here before, but if it's happened once...
That's exactly it. If Nate went off there, who else could go off? Anybody, everybody could wind up going off in the exact same spot. So it is of prime importance that we make sure that the area is safe and track services and our AMR safety crew are happy with it before we get back to a green flag situation. We have seen this recently as a couple weeks ago, John, where there was a big accident and the track services were not satisfied with the cleanup, and so they delayed our return.
So we started about 25 minutes ago with, well, not the greatest of starts, with 2 cars in the wall, and somehow the number 19 of Mike Stillwater, the white car, got through that, the number 19, but behind him and around him, he has to push his way to the wall and then jinx to the left, the car with the blue spoiler on the back. And caught up in that, Christian Back and Mitch Marvosh. And then the second incident, this time for Nate Cicero, taking a wild ride for Macumbi Macaleer Racing. He got out of the car on his own, but took some air there that he would not have expected. And they walked away, is all we need to say about that. And the integrity and safety built in to every one of these Ford Mustang Dark Horse are, and indeed every single car that races on the IMSA weekend. Big weekend for IMSA racing, one of the big traditional enduros in the US, and great to see the Mustang Challenge here at the Salence 6 Hours of the Glen. It's Shea Adam and John Hindorf, hoping to have heard a slightly louder noise from the dirty engines in these Dark Horse are, but we must get things safe before we go back to racing.
500 horsepower in these V8
adequate
engines. Very adequate.
Stick shift, 3 pedals.
Stick shift, as it should be. Proper race cars, proper cars.
Yeah. Does have an ABS function, but does not have traction control. So 500 horses where the traction control is what you can hear through, what you can feel through the seat of your pants, and your right foot on the throttle.
Please let it rain. Please,
oh,
at
my
some
goodness.
point this season, let it rain.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that would be so much fun.
Can you imagine the slides? Imagine the sideways slides. You get these cars sideways in the blink of an eye. The difference between going straight forward and going sideways is the mere flex of your big toe.
I am remembering a former Ford champion in the GS category of the Michelin Pilot Challenge, Billy Johnson, celebrating winning that championship by doing an entire lap of Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta sideways. That's what we need. We need more of that, and that's what Mustang builds. They build cars capable of that because it's so much power. You were at
the plant just north of Detroit recently, and
Flat Rock.
Yeah, Flat Rock. Yeah, and all of the associates there who work on building the street cars are so proud of what Mustang has achieved in motor racing down through the years, and currently in GT3, of course, and just gone to Le Mans for the first time as Mustang. In fact, actually, it may have been for the first time. I can't remember. Ford GT, of course, had been, but Mustang at Le Mans. And I heard part of your report when we were playing it out on Radio Le Mans last week, where these cars are literally coming down the same line as the street car. So you might have John Hindorf's car going to the UK, right? Please, hello, right-hand drive in that dark grey with the Dark Horse pack on. That'd be lovely.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And the next one, so that's got Hindorf UK spec sheet on the side, and the next one could have
Hertz, or it could have race car.
Yeah.
They do a full spread. And the most amazing thing, as you said, right-hand drive, there's no distinguishing between a car that is being built right-hand drive to go to England or Australia or any other one of the countries in the world that drives on the wrong side of the road if you're in America. But it could be destined for a racetrack, and we actually saw that. Scott Bartlett and I were joking because there was a woman pushing a chassis, not exaggerating, on a little rolly,
on the dolly, yeah.
on a little dolly, through the factory floor as we were setting up to do a presentation at the Flat Rock assembly plant. She was pushing it by herself, and written on the very bare metal frame as it was race car.
Yeah.
And this is a woman who was getting it ready to go into the paint department, where we didn't go in because you needed more clothes and more stuff, and we didn't actually have time. We were there for such a short period. But when we were then walking through the line, getting a tour from the plant manager, again, very quick tour, he was pointing out, oh yeah, see that one's right-hand drive, and Harry Ticknell immediately went, yes,
that's mine.
Yes, I'm interested. And then he went, oh yeah, and that one says Hertz, and that one's just spoken for someone in Pennsylvania. And it really was no distinguishing. And the people working on the cars, they're used to just doing it off the cuff like that.
But that is, particularly with Ford Mustang, that's heritage right there. And you mentioned Hertz, of course. There's been a special that's been built for Hertz in very, very limited editions. I didn't get one when I picked my Hertz rental up at JFK. I did ask both Mark Rushbrook and Tom Wagner, who is one of the owners of Hertz, if I could get that sorted out. Oddly, it wasn't waiting for me. But, you know, you think back to the old 350Hs, the stories that surrounded that car were mythical. People would rent them on a Thursday night, take them home on a Friday, bolt the cage in, go racing on a Saturday and a Sunday night, get them home, get the cage back out, put the carpets back in, and take them back on a Monday morning. 4-day weekend rentals, huh? Just something for the weekend.
No wonder they charge more for those.
Just fantastic. And, you know, Mustang was the beginning of the pony cars, hence the name pony cars, and the beginning of the performance race in affordable two-door coupes here in the US. And we didn't quite have the same thing. There wasn't quite the equivalence back in the UK. But Ford Mustang is a global car, and it remains a global car for Ford. And so it's entirely correct that Mustang and the Dark Horse version thereof have this race series. And it's brilliant that we're watching it in IMSA. Thank you to everybody who made this happen in pretty short order. The racing cars are being built at absolutely the rate that they can be, bearing in mind that they do come off that road car line in the Flat Rock Assembly Plant, or FRAP, as it's known. And clearly we will ramp up as we can. But head of Global Performance Ford, Mark Rushbrook, told us at Le Mans last Friday that he wants to see up to 70 cars being brought from the States into Le Mans next year for 2 support races for the 93rd running of the world's greatest motor race. And you know what? I'm not betting against that, because Mark and his team, and particularly the Mustang and Ford Performance team, with Jay Ward and Scott Bartlett and everybody involved in the builds as well, they are a pretty determined set of individuals.
Is 70 the cap?
I think so. We raced 130, I think it was 130 something, no, 118 VW Fun Cup cars in a 4-hour race on Friday morning at Le Mans this year, but they're a bit smaller and not as quick.
Because
it's a big circuit. It's 8.5 miles around.
It's a very big circuit, and I could see them going for a more romanticized number, such as 75, or just picking out an anniversary and celebrating it as work continues at the toe of the boot. And thank you again to our wonderful track services who are diligently working in this heat, let's not forget, wearing multiple layers, out there with helmets. They're using lunch boxes full of screws to try and reattach the banding to the tires. This is a very, very difficult effort for all of them out there, and 10.5 minutes to go on the clock. They are trying so hard to get us back to a green flag.
So needing additional with the front bucket. I think that's just going to be to help put things back in place, unless they're going to use the rear scoop on that to pull the metal barriers back into place. I've seen that done before. Oh yeah, going in backwards. It is a deer. Nothing runs like a deer.
It's not green though. It's not a big
I know
green
that threw
tractor.
me out. Thank you. One for all the Jason Aldean fans there.
They were playing Jason Aldean and John Pardee. It's great music last night, and then this morning again, the DJs at the track, they were knocking it out.
I'm always locked into the highway when I'm out here. Oh, there's the new Garth Brooks music station as well.
Very
Big
good.
615.
Yep.
Yeah, we've
There's
got that syndicated in the UK now as well.
There's a Kelly Clarkson station on Sirius XM as well as
That's
Mosaic.
great. That's great.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was my second guess. They are going to use the backhoe to just pull very gently the blue top layer of Armco, I think, back into position, because it's sitting slightly back where it has been hit. No, it's actually a couple of layers. This is very, very impressive work.
What finesse.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant by the backhoe loader, and he's just raising all the wheels off the ground by putting the front bucket on the ground. He's already got the stabilizers out there just to make sure that it doesn't move and spring off. Down under 9 minutes now as that goes on. This is such a disappointment for not only the drivers but the fans here. The initial start now, race control telling us they'll look at that after the race, that they really want to try and get this going, and we'll deal with anything else after it.
Laps behind the safety car have been about 3.5 minutes, just under. So if we were to decide that the cleanup was good enough at the end of this one, we could get green for potentially 2 more.
It's going through one at the moment. The Valvoline number 18 car is Marcus Ventos, the JV racing team, sits 10th in Dark Horse. Just remind you that in all of this, Tyler Maxson, of course, having nicked the lead fairly early on from his teammate and team owner, Robert Neuinger. 74 orange and black car, Tyler the Tiger, and the car now being nicknamed Hobbs.
Calvin, Hobbs, and Susie, all represented. They are big fans of Calvin and Hobbs.
Nice.
Robert Neuinger Racing.
I like that.
I was practically levitating when they said that.
Jeremy Fletcher, the first non-RNR car with the Macumbi Macalia Racing, number 22 in third. Then Reed Sweeney in the third of those R&R cars. Sam Paley for Southern Paley Motorsports runs in fifth. Brandon Godovic in sixth in the 46 Precision Performance Motorsport. Zach Lee leads the Legends in seventh. Gabe Tesh in seventh in Dark Horse, runs in eighth in the GC, the general classification. DJ Randall next up for court. He's a Dark Horse runner. Where's Slimp in the 47 Precision Performance Motorsport, and Marcus Vento finishes up the top 10. Nick Smithers in second position in the Legends. So where's Stephen Vega gone? So he's dropped down. He was running second in the Legends at the restart in the NV Autosport car run by Gradient Racing. He's dropped down to fourth. So must have been jumped on the restart for the half lap or so before we went back to full course yellow.
I have had confirmation 70 is the cap for the Le Mans support race next year.
Right.
So get your entries in early and form an orderly queue. Don't take anyone else out at the knees. But yes, 70. So reserve your spot now.
Yeah. VIP car. Sorry,
You
I had
choked on something there.
stuck in my throat there for a moment. FIA Class C international license. No, actually, I don't think that would be required for this. Don't think you'd need a INT for this.
Should we do 2 in-car microphones?
Well, you don't come to Le Mans anymore, do you?
No, but I did text Scott Bartlett and say, you're dragging me back, aren't you? You're trying to get me back in the game.
Just when I thought I was out of it, you dragged me back. 5 minutes to go. And
Lights are still on.
yeah. I'm afraid to say that unless as these cars go by,
I'm not going to total the points yet, though.
no, all right.
I'm not doing that.
Well, tell us about how the points are calculated, you can do, because that's quite important for a series like this.
It is the same point scale as we have in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Actually, no, it's the same point scale as Michelin Pilot Challenge. No points for qualifying as far as being doled out the entire way down. 10 points for the pole, 10 points as well for the fastest lap in the race, which goes to Tyler the Tiger and Zach Lee, as it is right now.
So that's in class.
That's in class.
Right.
And then 350 for the win, 320 for second, 300 third, through 280 for fourth, 260 for fifth, and then it's in decreasing regiments of 10 points for the rest of the way down in all the points paying positions. But this is a series that pays as well. So if you win the race, you win $5,000. If you finish second, you win $2,500, and if you're third, you get $1,500. It's well worth being in those podium positions. So right now, we've got Jeremy Fletcher, for example, in third. This would be his third consecutive third place finish. That means he would have earned $4,500 so far this year.
Wow.
Not bad.
In finishing money.
In finishing money.
Now, just hearing about some penalties, or a penalty at least, for Max Opalski, who, if you remember, started right at the back of the field after his qualifying times were invalidated due to an excess amount of camber running on the car out of spec. He's running in 15th at the moment, and he's going to get a 10-second penalty post-race for a false start. Now that's awful news for him, because he made up positions in both of the starts, obviously, to get to 15th from 24th, I think he started it. And with everybody running nose to tail, then that's going to drop him right down to the back of the field.
That is a worst case situation.
Yeah.
And poor Max started the day with that penalty.
No, still safety. Still too many safety vehicles, I think, to hope that they might be cleared by the time we get to the end of this lap.
Well, we can hope. There's no trouble in hoping. Star Wars had a new hope.
Hope is not a strategy.
Well, that is true as well. Safety car lights are still on as they go through turn 8 once again. This is the 12th lap of the race, but I don't think we've crossed our finish under green in this one.
Totally. So disappointment for everyone bar Tyler Maxson. Made that early move to take the lead.
He's a classy guy, though. He will be disappointed that this is a race win coming his way. Second consecutive race win should be said for Tyler Maxson, assuming that nothing happens before we get the checkered flag. But he'll have wanted to have earned it in a very different manner than this.
Yeah. But there's no asterisk. Shea, you're still going to get full points. It will be the white flag this time around.
Full points and a full paycheck.
Yeah.
It's not like they take any of the 5K away because you didn't earn it under a green flag.
No.
Preston waving that white flag. One more to go. Now, positions are not locked in. They have to actually take the checkered flag in order to be classified where they are. So we'll hold off on announcing the championship, but I'll start doing the math.
Okay. It's not quadratic equations, it's only arithmetic.
It might as well be to me.
Mathematics involves if and then X's and Y's.
If they make it to
brackets.
the checkered flag.
All right, very good. Then they'll get these points.
Yes.
Quite sure that's going to get you the gold medal.
I never pretended to be good at math.
Mathematics Olympiad. So a bit of debris on the circuit, but that's not going to cause any problems, as the sad fact is that we will finish behind the safety car after a bizarre incident for Nate Cicero. And the only thing that's important right now is that Nate is all right. The causes of that crash will be investigated by Nate and his team. Macumbi McAleer Racing, one of the most successful and experienced teams within the IMSA paddock in all forms of racing, and good to see them supporting the Ford Mustang Dark Horse Championship, along with teams like Core Motorsports, who we see at the sharp end of many fields as well. Robert Noaker Racing expanding into a 4-car effort here. MDK Motorsports, Macumbi McAleer, Precision Performance. All of these teams, Skip Barber Racing, Spark Performance, all teams that we see in other forms of IMSA racing, right up into the Pilot Challenge and the WeatherTech Championship. And welcome to Nick Smithers racing his own car, to Jack Lewis Enterprises, to Capaldi Racing for John Strauss's car, Sam Paley's new Southern Paley Motorsports LLC. Great stuff to see those drivers moving into team ownership and branching out. Such is the draw of the Galloping Pony and the Blue Oval.
Alex Bashura is going to hate this more than anyone else, given his penalty before the start of the race and the effect that this will have on his championship by not being able to race his way forward.
Yeah. Oof. Sitting in 18th position as it stands right now. So the unfortunate end to the race, I think we realised it from 5 or 6 minutes ago. We will finish under yellow, and Tyler Maxson for Robert Noaker Racing will be our 3rd round winner. First of the weekend at Watkins Glen. He pulls out a line to go to the pit wall to salute the Robert Noaker Racing team, who have another 2-step of the podium finish. This time it's 1st and 2nd, with Robert Noaker himself in the 13 car on the 2nd step of the box, and Jeremy Fletcher takes another $1,500, the 3rd time this season that he's picked up the 3rd step on the podium. Consistency the key there for Macumbi McAleer Racing. Reed Sweeney just out of the money and off the box in 4th position. Then Sam Paley, Brandon Godovich, Zach Lee takes the Legends win in 7th position from Nick Smithers and Tom Tate, with Stephen Vacher just missing out after running as high as 2nd in that category. Brilliant for a relatively inexperienced driver. But Zach Lee in the Chrome Dome, the number 48 car, which looks absolutely spectacular. He takes the win and the cash in the Legends category. Here's how they stand then at the end of round 3. Provisional points, of course.
Robert Noaker still leading the way on 1,020. He is the first person ever to break 1,000 points in this championship.
Very good. I like what you did there.
Another quiz question. Tyler Maxson in 2nd, but edging closer to his teammate, 970 points. In 3rd, it is on 900 points, Jeremy Fletcher on his own. 4th will be Sam Paley on 860, and in 5th will be DJ Randall on 710. In the Legends class, it is now Zach Lee leading the way on his own, tied coming into the race after getting the pole position. 960 points for him. Nick Smither in 2nd on 900, and dropping to 3rd, Mike Stillwack, the guy who led the points, coming into today's race on 860.
Could have been even worse for Mike if he'd been caught up in that crash in the first moments. Somehow managed to get his way through and pick up a 5th position. Well, not the way we wanted this to end. The good news is all the drivers are okay after the incidents here at round 3 at Watkins Glen. Start of the race that was, to say the least, a little untidy, sadly, and that set the tone, I'm afraid, with early baths for Christian Bach and Mitch Marvosh, who hit the wall early. The most spectacular spin and roll from Nate Cicero. He was all right. We'll come back to do it all again tomorrow. For Shay Adam, I'm John Hindhaugh. Bye for now.